let's talk a little bit about Dance With Me, and particularly my history with Dance With Me. So I was dating this guy at the end of last year. It was terrible. Horrible relationship, bad idea. But he was Afro-Cuban. And that fact reminded me about this movie called Dance With Me, 1998, that was like a jewel of my childhood. It was something that I watched over and over again. Looking back on it, actually watching it as an adult, it is kind of slow paced at points. So I'm kind of curious what about this movie kept my attention at 3 years old. Sparkly things, people dancing, and a hot man. What can I say? I knew what I liked early, okay? So Dance With Me was a movie that my mom bought on like VHS. She bought it, one, because she loved romance, but also because she was kind of curious about Vanessa Williams, who was like a former, and I think the first Black Miss America. And my mom, she wasn't a huge fan, but she did find like interest in stuff that she was in. And she was going to be playing opposite this like really hot Puerto Rican dude who I didn't know was famous until I researched it for this podcast. But Cheyenne, who is her opposite, in the movie he plays a Cuban man, hence why it reminded me of this movie. But dating a Cuban man reminded me of this movie. And it's so fascinating to see the chemistry of these two people, and I get why my mom was into it, because it's a hot movie. And they made pretty good music off of it too for the soundtrack. Those are the two things that I remember most from it. I decided to watch it again for the first time in easily 15, 20 years. I'm getting old. I don't even like saying that out loud. To see if it was as good as I remember it being. And spoiler, I still like it, and I still like hot people being hot. So I as I watch movies from the 90s, particularly ones that are like focused on chemistry and romance and stuff, I really realize that there's not a whole lot of that these days on screen. Have you guys noticed that? Oh, boo, bring back hot people being hot and being together and being hot. I think I said this in the Scorpion King video too, right? But I stand by it. It doesn't matter how much time has passed. My opinions have stayed the same. A verdict. Final, if you will, you know? Anyway, but being that I was watching it as an adult and I still had like a general nostalgia around the movie, I was curious if people even liked this movie. I don't know. I wasn't old enough to really have any real opinion. I wasn't really old enough to understand other people's opinions around this movie. So I was curious to see retrospectively what those opinions were. And lo and behold, nobody liked this movie apparently, but me and my mom. The movie made less than $16 million domestically, which if we adjust for inflation was around $31 million. In today's 2022 money, which wasn't great considering at the time. I think we have to remind ourselves that 1998 was quite a year for media in general. The best albums came out in 97 and 98. The most iconic ones came out, and so did a lot of very iconic movies come out, particularly in 98. You have like Titanic was either 97 or 98, and that grossed $600 million. You have Save It Private Ryan. You have Air Force One, Dr. Dolittle, which made a nice bag, Armageddon, Mulan, all of these movies that if they're put up against Dance With Me, I get why people would go see something else. So fair, I get it. I get why I didn't make a whole lot of money back. It was going against some pretty stark competition. But then we get to the reviews, which I feel are a little heavy-handed, but okay. It all boils down to most likely half of either an audience or a critic won't like this movie. 2/3 of audiences like the movie. Only half of critics thought it was decent on Rotten Tomatoes. And from what I understand, the basic critique is that the script is kind of shallow. Direction is pretty weak. Fair.